Hey everybody, Tim here with today's Star Wars review, part 4, the final part of season 2 of Rebels. So, I don't know, overall it was okay. There were some dips, there were some high parts. The season finale is probably the greatest part of the entire TV show. So I'm going to do 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, kind of following my 5 episodes, a review type thing. So episode 16, Honorable Ones. I don't know. Like they're it's all about like Zeb and Kahless. It's very, I don't know. They've done a lot of movies that are very similar to this, where it's like, oh, they're building something above Geonosis, which is a great shout out to episode 2. And they even mentioned Saw Gerrera at one point in Onderan. Not Alderaan, but Onderan. So I was like, that's kind of cool. But the whole thing is Zeb and Kahless are trapped on this planet. And they have the great moment where he's like, I thought Geonosis was a desert planet. It is. And that's Geonosis. We're not there. And basically it's just them trying to survive. And then kind of the heartbreaking moment is when you finally, they're going through all of these different things together. And I love the moment where he, flings him into the ceiling and, the brace for his leg goes into the ceiling. I love that. But the heartbreaking moment is when they finally, put on the alarm and Zeb goes his direction and Kahless goes his direction. And Zeb, everybody's like, oh, we've been looking for you. And Kahless just is walking through, the Star Destroyer or whatever. And people just don't even acknowledge he was missing. So I was like, oh, it's really kind of sad. So, I don't know. It was an okay episode. It hit the hammer where it wanted to. But it was a little bit slow for me. Episode 17, Shroud of Darkness, was, again, it was kind of a hit and miss. I loved the opening scene, or where it's where we have Ezra and Kanan fighting the Inquisitors, and it's Freddie Prinze Jr., and he's fighting Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they're married in real life, so I loved that part. Ahsoka watching the video of Anakin, teaching the demonstrations. He's like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Loved it. I absolutely loved it. Just to see Anakin again was really, really great. Them going back to Lothal to see the temple. And he's like, oh, there's the door. Oh, there's a second door. I was like, is that necessary? And then the whole, after that part, I was like, it kind of goes both ways, where we see, the temple guard, and he has the double lightsaber, and they're yellow. And I was like, okay. I don't know very much about temple guards, but I was like, that's kind of interesting. We see Yoda, once again, voiced by Frank Oz from the movies. And, I don't know, his design is based off of more of, the action figures, the toys, rather than his actual like he was in the Clone Wars. So he looks kind of funky. He doesn't look like the movies, he doesn't look like Clone Wars, he just looks kind of weird. But it worked. I mean, as soon as he starts talking and you see him, you're like, yep, that's Yoda. So I guess it kind of worked. The do you know what I've become type thing was a little bit much for me. Them finding Mandalore, okay. Finding out, that the Inquisitor was a temple guard. That's some deep shit. It's an interesting story. So I did like that one. Going to the next one, Forgotten Droid. I don't know, it seemed very, fillerish. It introduced some new characters and stuff like that, but it was very kind of fillerish, where Chopper just wants a new leg. He meets the AP5, I think was his name, AP5, yeah, who's the inventory droid. It's the depressed robot. If you've ever seen, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it even sounds like Alan Rickman. That's all it is. Ketsu makes an appearance again, which is great. Anytime to see her is fantastic. But overall, it didn't stand out to me. The mystery of Chopper Base, again, like giant spiders. Zeb had all of the best lines where he's like, anything more than 2 legs is just excessive. Like, I loved that. That was one of my favorite lines. And then Sabine had the line of like, I really wish I had a jetpack right now. Again, like, it's almost word for word like what they say in The Mandalorian. So I was like, I don't know. Like, it was kind of interesting, but it seemed a little bit drawn out for me. All of this brings us to the finale. Technically it's, I guess, 2 episodes because it's like a 40-minute episode. Twilight of the Apprentice. I will say it right now. I don't even care. I cried. Like, I got goosebumps. I cried. I bawled. It was so emotional. Where I love the line, there's always a bit of truth in legends, is phenomenal. Them going to the Sith temple is kind of interesting. I liked Ezra picked up, because at this point, like, they were kind of getting into, like, episode 7, and Ezra picks up a lightsaber, and it has the cross guard, just like Kylo Ren's will in the future. So I was like, oh, God, that's kind of forcing it on us, but okay, it is what it is. One of my problems is the old master. Like, it didn't seem like it was even hiding that it was Maul. Like, it's not a twist or anything. So I kind of wish they'd kept him more in the shadows. Because as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh my God, it's Maul. I like they brought back I'm Jabba. Okay, again, nobody believes you. Why are you even saying it? But it's kind of funny. 2 are required, going back to the whole Sith thing. And when he finally does reveal that it's Maul, I squealed a little bit the first time I ever saw this. I could tell instantly it was him. But I kind of squealed a little bit. We see the Sith holocron, and then I loved that where it's the 3 Inquisitors against the 3 of them, and Maul's just like, how exciting! And I was like that. I love Maul in Clone Wars and Rebels so much because he's just like the sadistic prick, and he's like, this is amazing. And I don't know, if you guys ever saw the DC animated movie of Under the Red Hood, like, he reminds me of the Joker, where he's like, this is brilliant, this is great, we're all gonna die, I can't wait. And it's just like, that's kind of what Maul reminded me of. And he's just killing the Inquisitors, and then when he attacks Kanan, you're like, oh, shit's gonna get real right now. We see Ezra activate the holocron, and it's the voice of Ventress. Like, I don't know if they meant to do that, or if it's just like, hey, let's get a voice actress to do this. But, like, the entire time, I was just like, why is Ventress talking to us? So I don't think it's supposed to be Ventress, but that's all I can hear, is her talking to us. Kanan fighting Maul and just, boop, tossing him off. I was like, that's pretty badass. And this whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is a good episode. Like, it's not like something to write home about good, but this is a really good episode. And when Vader shows up, not walking in, nothing like that, he shows up standing on top of his TIE fighter. Like, who the fuck gets out of their TIE fighter to stand on it just to make an interest? Or to make an entrance. Anakin Skywalker, that's who. Like, Vader's just standing on top of his TIE fighter like, I am here. And it's brilliant. It's so, that's when the hairs on my arm started to stand up, and I was like, what is this? And just where, like, Ahsoka is like, I will avenge his death, and he's like, that's not the Jedi way. I am no Jedi. And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Him pulling them with the Force. And then the moment that I think gets to most people is when she actually, like, cuts his mask open and you can see, like, Anakin's eye. And she's like, I will save you. I'm going to tear up just talking about this. And she's like, I'm not going to leave you. And he's like, well, then you're going to die. And it's so emotional. Like, just, I don't know, especially after watching all of Clone Wars and immediately going into Rebels and binging it so quickly. It's so sad just to see the Ahsoka Anakin thing. And it's funny because, like, I mean, you go back and you watch my very first review of Clone Wars, and I'm like, Ahsoka's awful. Like, what is this about? And then here I am, and it's just like, oh, God, Ahsoka's amazing. And her talking to Anakin's amazing. Because you watch I remember watching the prequels, and I'm like, okay, who cares? Like, Anakin became Vader. BFD, it's not a big deal. Like, who cares? But Clone Wars kind of makes you care. And to see Anakin, like, peek out of Vader just a little bit, it makes this whole episode heartbreaking. Like, it is a very sad episode. So, I don't know. I think season 2 is probably the best season out of the entire series. And some of this is the best of Star Wars has ever been, with Anakin and Ahsoka. It's phenomenal. So, really, really enjoyed season 2. Can't wait for season 3. I'm curious what you guys thought. Go ahead, let me know, and I will see you guys next time.